Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Maverick Mindset Radio Show. I am Jackie Williams.
And I'm Ashley Muckenhop.
And this is the radio show for the dreamers and doers. It's for those who are willing to step into the arena.
Some call us the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers.
We don't accept the status quo. We leave the world better than we find it.
We approach each day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. We maintain irrational optimism about the future.
This is the Maverick Mindset Radio Show, brought to you by Adam Williams, who's out today, so we're taking over.
So today it's brought to you by Jackie Williams. We're taking over Maverick Mindset. Adam will be texting. Guys, no, stop. All right, so I'm really excited for this episode. We have our favorite guest ever back on the show, Jackie. And we are kind of bringing, I felt like it just, the universe, stars aligned. The past episodes we've been doing the last few weeks kind of come full circle to this one. So it's episode 71, end of year reflections and inspiration to what you can fix for 26.
Yes.
So we took us a minute to come up with that. But so I'm excited.
Yeah. So we want to talk today about basically how do you want to end your year?
Yep.
We know that this is a time of stress and anxiety. It is officially, according to me, Christmas season because it's after my favorite holiday, Thanksgiving. And so in a lot of cases, we do a lot of preparation for Christmas, right?
Yes.
In the Catholic tradition, we have Advent, and that's like a preparation time for Christmas. We're talking today about how do we have that like preparation time in our business? How do I want to be spending my holidays, looking at what I expect to be coming up during that time in my business, and how am I going to prepare for it? So January 3rd.
Yep. Because
I'm not. What happened?
Because I think a lot of
my
people
holidays.
miss it, especially this time of year, like you said, because it's so busy. We're getting ready for Christmas. We're just finishing up from Thanksgiving, and we don't take the time to think about, oh, wait, where do I, like I said, I don't want to be sitting there January 3rd and be like, whoops.
Yeah, what happened?
I just missed everything. So, all right, before we get into all that, though, where you can find us live on Facebook, Blowing Your Minds, every Wednesday at 9. So happy I got that right. Streaming on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and then, of course, MaverickMindsetRadio.com. Also, Maverick merch. Mention the coupon code Maverick10 for 10% off. Perfect time of year. Christmas time. If you need a journal, we have our Maverick Mindset coffee cups. So, all right, let's go. Let's jump in. So let's talk about where did the inspiration, like why did you want to do this show? Like why this? Where'd that inspiration come from? Where you're like, where did it originate?
Yeah. So last year this time, we had a pretty busy time in our business. I spent a lot less time with my family during the Christmas break than I had expected, and I learned from that, and I took some time to reflect leading into this month on what do we need to change so that I have more of that time. And so that kind of inspired it. And because, one of the concepts we want to talk about a lot today, right, is, you can't hope something to happen. You can have faith.
Yeah.
And faith is active.
Yes.
And so we want to talk about how, in order to have active faith, you need to plan and you need to do. And so in order to figure out the next right thing to do, we want to talk about today, like ways that we can organize our thoughts, organize the items in front of us towards success versus, looking back and being like, why didn't that change?
Yeah. And then
I hoped it
repeating the
would.
same
Yeah.
pattern. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, what were you calling it? The passive, hope is passive and faith is active, because sometimes we're sitting there in that moment and be like, oh, I hope this gets better.
Yeah.
I hope this works out. But if you're not taking the action to do the thing, and along with the action, having the faith that the thing that I'm doing is going to work out.
Right.
And I think that gets definitely missed. And I think last year, looking at where we were last year, it has changed now the spot that we're in this year.
Absolutely.
And you're like, hey, I'm not going to sit there on January 3rd and say, what happened? Why am I here? But more like, I know what January 3rd looks like.
Yes.
I know what going into that looks like. Okay. So, all right, let's talk about the small things. What are some small things? Because I think people think big actions have to take place in order to make any type of change or be prepared. But what are some of the small things people can celebrate, or the small wins, or things that people can be doing now so that they can be prepared going into the new year?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things that, we already do is we have, weekly level 10 meetings, because we do EOS. And in those, we have what we call like IDS, where we have issues that we discuss and solve, right? And so I think it's like, if you don't already have an issues list of things that you believe are going to, keep you from where you want to get to, I would start that issues list and I would work through those, problem solve those with the people in your business that can help you get to a better answer. And I think sometimes coming up with that issues list takes some like prayerful reflection, like we have been talking about. So setting time aside to really just think big picture, instead of just doing the next widget, or, moving forward the next project by yourself, taking that step back for reflection. What am I doing that I don't need to be doing, and who can help me?
What do you think that it's hard for business owners when you're sitting there in that time of the year to actually take the time? Is it something like you don't want to acknowledge maybe like the past mistakes or things that went wrong? Is it hard to reflect back and look at like, okay, this is where I was at. What do I need to go forward? Why is that sometimes hard for people to?
I mean, I think for myself personally, it's actually harder for me I like to just do. That's my struggle. I will jump in and I'd rather just get it done than maybe have to put faith into, I'm going to try it differently with the hope that a different outcome comes to be. Now, if it's faith and I've planned it and I'm actively doing it, I have to have faith in that process. There isn't hope if I'm working the plan, right? Yeah. But I think it is, maybe it's a little scary to say, okay, I have to work a new plan. I can't follow my normal pattern that I know will get it done. Maybe I'll sacrifice myself more than I need to. And so that's my struggle. And I think there's a lot of business owners that struggle there, or like having a hard time looking at, am I wasting time if I slow down to speed up, or should I just keep going?
I like that. Am I wasting time? Wait, how'd you say that?
Am I wasting time to slow down and, reflect, think, plan to speed up?
Yep.
Versus just working on, like the next widget or the next project or the next deliverable that you have.
You said a few things that kept coming up, is the planning and then the doing. And that sometimes you're just like, I just want to do it. I just want to do it, and I want to get it done. Where especially end of year, because it's like, hey, we got to wrap this up. There's this that needs to be done. Got to plan for this, make sure. But like that planning aspect of it, like I said, people don't take the time to like stop.
Right.
Because like I said, it feels like if you stop, I'm wasting time. I'm not going to accomplish any of this. So like I said, I'll sacrifice myself. I'll do all of the things, and I won't reflect on maybe drawing out what needs to happen. Right. So
go into that insanity mode, right? Where like you keep doing the same thing, but expect a different result. Yeah. We have to fight against that.
So when should people start getting a plan together for the end of the year?
Well,
should you be doing this?
I think
it's
like,
the thing.
It's a constant all year round thing, but I think we're trying to focus on it just for this last month, when there's so much you're trying to fit into the last, now we've only got 28 days technically. I say the time is now. Take that time and slow down to speed up and make sure that you're utilizing your resources the best that you can to have the most successful end of year. Hit that sales number, get the work done. Make sure that you've planned everything you can to save on your taxes.
Yes.
Before the end of the year.
So I want to go back to when we were talking about hope and faith, because I know your faith, mine too. It's a big part of your everyday. And I think we forget that. And I think sometimes faith gets confused with hope. So I want to, when we were talking about active faith, what are some of the steps? And like I said, we said this isn't something that you just want to do all year. It's something that you want to do, or at the end of the year, it's something that you want to do all year, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of the active parts of active faith? What are things that people should be doing all year round?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think Adam and you guys talk about this a lot throughout the year, but it's really like leading every day, week, month, quarter with intention, right?
Yes.
Setting the priorities, making the time to reflect, to set the priorities, right? And then making sure that you have KPIs or check-in points to make sure that you are staying on track, that you are actually prioritizing the things that need to get done.
What about when we're looking back and reflecting at the problems, what are some, when people are looking back, this is what happened this year, these are the things that went wrong, this is where, this went left, or I didn't plan for this, is having that active conversation, having that drawn out, having that say, hey, so let's now, these were the problems we have, so let's now take action before they occur again. And like you said, you mentioned before, you have to change kind of the patterns that you were doing and put something else in place. I think that's kind of scary, because that means you have to change what you're always used to doing.
Yeah, exactly.
So is that being a business owner? And I know you guys, you embrace change. You think change is good, but I think there's a lot of people that change scares them to have to do something different.
Yeah. I think that's the question, though, is what's scarier? Being in the same place that you were in last year, or being in a better place, maybe not perfectly. Maybe you got a couple of bruises, maybe you have some growing pains. Maybe your muscles are sore from that extra workout, if you will, of maybe it's your brain sore, right? When you're trying to explain new processes and procedures to people to do things, to develop other people. But if you are able to come out of that with either more time or a bigger business or a team that is better trained, you have to change something to get that result. You can't just keep doing the thing you were doing and expect to have a change.
I think there's that fear that if you change it, it'll go wrong. I know my pattern, it might not be perfect.
Right.
But I know it works to an extent.
Yeah.
And to change it, there's a fear of but that could go really wrong, because I don't know what happens if I change this up, do this. Maybe if it's, again, putting in something, setting that big sales goal, changing, firing somebody, right? You don't know what that outcome is to that. So how do you push past the unknown?
Well, honestly,
is this where faith comes in?
Well, I think this is where faith comes in, but I also think, it's where reflection comes in too. So if you're paralyzed in fear, well, how do you identify how to push past it? Maybe this is where we're talking about these reflections. Okay, so if I'm telling myself I can't change, I'm going to be in this same position as I was last year. Well, what are the things that you're telling yourself that are saying I can't change, I'll just stay in the same position as last year? What's the worst that can happen? And really just listing those out, spending the time reflecting. Okay, so if I would go change this, I'm stopping because I'm afraid this is going to happen, or this is going to happen, or this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And then sit with each one of those. Okay, so say this happens. I don't know. People quit.
Yep.
All right, so what are your solutions to what happens if people quit? Okay, hire somebody else quickly? Can you get contractors? How can you change what needs to get done? Can something be more automated? You know, like having that time where you're getting your brain used to reflecting on the fact that these things could go wrong, but if they do go wrong, I have like my foot in the door of what the next solution is.
Okay. So it's having that, well, and that's the thing.
And which ones are like absolute, like I don't have an answer for this. And so if I'm going to change it, that's something I can't change. So I mean, you know, like measuring your change.
Oh, I like that. Measuring your change. Good. What is the impact that this is going to have?
Just like when you're trying to get the tree in the living room, make sure that it's, when you go, you know, cut one down, that it's not taller than your ceiling. Yeah.
Well, and then we know as much planning as we can do, right? We can have all of this laid out. The unexpected happens inevitably. Like I feel, I feel like what's that saying? We make plans and God laughs.
Yeah,
right. Because we can have everything exactly like, hey, I even found the solutions if this doesn't work, but something unexpected that you did not plan for works. How do you make that pivot? Because I think I'm in that panic, right? No, wait, I planned for that. Like I had it all figured out, and now this happened, the thing that I didn't plan for. So how do you pivot then to get and not go down that spiral?
Well, I think when we talk about active like faith in business, you have to have faith in what you're trying to accomplish, what the mission of the business is, and what you stand for, your core values. And so when it comes down to it, if something happens, you will figure a way out of it. Like you have to slow down to speed up. So something happens, who can you call? You know, that has been through this before, that can give you an idea, right? What are other solutions to the problem? Just like really just sitting with it, like, what absolutely needs to get done and what can wait, and then prioritizing accordingly. I do think that part of faith in business is really believing in yourself and your team to get it done. And even if your team dwindles, or if, you know, there is a big obstacle ahead of you, it's finding some solution or deciding what is going to get done, kind of empowering yourself that I'm not going to let this fail. What do I need to do so that it doesn't fail?
Now, how important is communication in all of this, right? So we're sitting there and we're planning, we're putting all this together. Now, how does the communication part of that work? So especially as a business owner, and you're sitting there, you're reflecting on the past things, you're putting this plan in place. And now the executing part of it and the communicating part of it, how should that be done? What are some of the things that people can be doing that to be communicating that and getting that through to the rest of the people on the team? Like, hey, we don't want to be in this place on January 3rd. So how do you bring everybody else into that, doing that same thing, on board with the plan and the reflecting part of things?
So I think it comes down to evaluating what needs to get done by when, and having regular check-ins. So last night, for example, our chief of staff and I spent a good hour and a half just talking through what needs to get done in our business before the end of the year, who's assigned what, when do they think they're going to get it done, and what are the obstacles that are in their way, right? So, and having that communication to us before the end of the week helps us pivot and plan and identify what absolutely needs to get done, what is not going to get done, and how we're going to, and how we can get things done before we close out the year.
I want to pivot to the overwhelm. Because I feel like at this part of the year, there's a lot of overwhelm that people feel, because you are meeting deadlines. And I sometimes feel, even in the midst of having a good plan or knowing the things that need to get done, there's still the sense that there's not enough time, or there's not, how can I possibly handle all of these things? How can I possibly deliver all of these things by this time? And again, you go down that rabbit hole and the spiral until you you don't, I think all the planning, everything goes away. So how do you handle overwhelm, or what are some of the things that you can do so you don't get in that sense and you stick to the plan that you've created?
Yeah. So a phrase in our household that is often said is execute overwhelm with overwhelming execution. And I'm sure Adam said it on this show, probably. Yeah. I know I've heard him say it like 25 times or something. But the longer, it's just like anything. If you just let that energy keep swirling, you're wasting, the time that you could be thinking positively about how to undo it. So when it comes down to that, it's just like what we had talked about, writing down that list of what are all the things I have to do, or what are all the things that could go wrong? And then, what is the truth, and what truly needs to be done? And doing this by yourself, and then maybe talking through with a mentor or talking through with other people on your team, really getting to the truth. Because when we get scared, when we get overwhelmed, it's amazing how far we get from the truth. Mm-hmm. Right. And so in order, I think that if we work to find the truth, if we take the time to find the truth and then execute on what absolutely needs to be done, that's part of active faith in your business.
Do you think that it's, because you mentioned before too, like you have to do everything, like you want to do everything, do yourself. Is that hard to let go of? The best way to do it is if I do it. The quickest way to do it is if I do it. The easiest way to do it is if I do it. Is that hard to let go of? And how do you build the trust to say, you know what, I have to, and is that necessary to do so that you aren't stuck taking everything on?
It definitely is necessary to do if you're going to try to scale something. I mean, if you're looking at running a business where you are the sole producer and, your craft is a very highly priced craft, for example, and you are the only person in your business. I mean, that might be where you're at. You could look at how you produce things differently, make tools for yourself, right? But I think if you're going to scale anything, you're going to need to develop the people under you so that you can help more people, right? And so those are all things that I'm working on a daily basis, of trying to mentor people, changing our systems so that we're delivering a quality service to our clients, and it's not limited to the time that I have to give it, especially because there's other things besides our business that require my time. I have children, I have a husband, I have family that I want to be present for. Right. So it's like we want to help as many people as possible. It's impossible to try to do that all, on your own. So having people that you're delegating to or creating the systems are key to helping as many people as possible.
Let's talk about creating the systems and why that's important. Because we've talked about that before on the show too, that you should have systems and processes. But shouldn't you be introducing new systems and processes throughout the year too, and also adjusting the ones that you have? Should people be looking at the current systems and processes that they have and changing and pivoting those? And is that something that people should be looking at the end of the year? Or again, is that something that we should be looking at all year round?
So I think I would only look at it at the end of the year if it's one of those big priorities like we talked about, right? Okay. Like if you think that changing that system, if you spend an hour on changing that system and changing the policy and procedure, and that will give more clarity to your team so that they are more efficient in executing and everybody gets more time off or whatever during the end of the year, then that's a priority item. I think it's good to have a regular check-in and changing those systems, and maybe monthly looking at what's the month, or this month, what's the process that we look at. Yeah. Because I mean, we just went through that with our employee manual. It's like, okay, when was the last time we really looked at some of the things in here and what has changed in our business or what's changed in the world that we need to adjust or understand if we need to make a change to. So things are always changing. So all those policies and procedures should get looked at. Yeah.
I always there's always that thing that people say, you should be focused on the present, living in the present, and not looking at the future. Is this the same though in business? Because I think a lot of times you have to be looking ahead in business, right? To understand, this is where I want to be. This is how I want to get there. But but that doesn't always coincide with like, well, what do we need to be doing right now? So should people be focusing on, hey, just this is where we're at right now. This is what we could be doing right now. Or should it be that your focus is what's ahead?
There's a time for all of that, right? Like there's a season for everything, right? So it's important that you have the big picture things. Adam is really good at getting our meetings on the calendar to do big vision. Like we'll go out a year, we'll go out 3 years, we'll go out 5 years. And then what do we have to do this year?
Yeah.
And what do we have to do each quarter? And what do we have to do each month? And then, so we have that time. But like you said, we have plans, you know,
Yeah.
God has other plans
Yeah.
or, you know, other things happen. So, you know, it's the big planning, but it's also like the tactical, like with all of those components, if you're not going to hit the goal, right, that you set out in that bigger picture planning, is that goal still an important goal? Or is, you know, has something changed where that just doesn't fit anymore? Or how are we going to absolutely get to that goal? So there's, you know, there's strategy, and then there's this like very like tactical stuff that needs to come together in order to meet the goal that actually has to get done. And like what we're talking about, what is it that, you know, you said you were going to do for 2025.
Yep.
You know, nail that down, and so that you're rolling into 2026 with a win, and then you have the confidence to fix what you need to fix, so that you have an even bigger win at the end of 26.
I like when you kept saying like you kept saying tactical, because I kept thinking of our meeting yesterday when I was like, maybe it was Monday. I'm like, you guys aren't hearing me. This is going to be a problem if we don't fix it right now. It has to be right now. And I was getting super frustrated. But then you and Adam are like, no, we are hearing you. We know that this is, but like there were tactical things that have to happen first before that can be, you know, handled. And I'm like, I feel like I'm probably not the only one. You get so caught up in what the problem is and what the issue is that you just want that instant fix to it. Mm-hmm. And this has to be what it is, but you can't see that there's all these other little things that have to happen first in order for that to then take place, in order for that to then be successful.
Right.
And I feel like this at this time of year, because there is so much pressure, it makes it 10 times worse, right? Because you see problems or something now and you want to hurry up and fix it before the end of the year.
Right.
But you have to take that time.
Yeah, you have to have the faith that, you know, if you set the time, you set the space, the container to just, you know, kind of chill.
Yeah.
Write down all the things that are important, prioritize them, and then decide what you're going to execute on first, and what you can't handle or what is not going to get handled. How do you communicate that to the team, to a client, to something else? How do you, ideally before you communicate, you have some kind of, you know, have the solution to communicate, right? So how can you solve it, or how can you address it if something has to change with it, and then how do you communicate that well? But then, I mean, most importantly, the things that will get done, making sure that you are tracking that they're getting done, and how, you know, you have processes in place to get them done.
The tracking is a big thing, so you can look back and see what happened. And I think that's a lot of what we do at the end of the year too, is the part of the reflecting is also like you have to be tracking things throughout the year to be able to look back, reflect back on what you did, how you did it, and did that work? Mm-hmm. And do I continue that going into the new year, or do I have to change that?
Yeah.
So if you're not tracking things, start tracking.
Yeah.
I know. Sometimes Adam or you are asking me something, I'm like, oh, I didn't track that. I need to go back and find that. So
yep. I mean, we're all guilty of that. But if you don't, you know, hold yourself to a standard or have like a check-in point, you're not going to track. Why, you know, you're doing other things.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And it's just as important because we always fuck this show toward entrepreneurs and business owners. But I think as an employee, it's also very important to reflect and look back and track and do all of these things too of what you did at the end of the year. Because there's things like, you know, how are you handling your tasks and the things that you have to do in order to then make that next at that leadership level, like successful, and then the business successful. So I think that doesn't just pertain to entrepreneurs, doesn't just pertain to just employees, but even just into us as individuals in life.
Yeah.
Right. Because even in our personal lives, like I don't want to be in the same place I was January 3rd last year, right? Like I want, when you're looking at, so let's make a little change, like a little pivot to how does this work in your personal life too? Because inevitably our personal lives infect our professional lives.
Right.
So how do we do this same thing? You know, so you don't want to be standing in the same place you were, you know, last year.
Yeah.
So how do we bring this into your personal lives too? What are things that you can be doing personally to make sure that you're set up for success?
So, I mean, a lot of people, you know, we talk about vision boards and like manifesting, and a lot of people talk about that, and it's like, oh, well, I made this vision board and then I threw it in the corner, whatever. But like, but making a vision board, not to sound like, I don't know, influencer on the internet or whatever, but like, you know, really like making the vision board, but then what are you doing throughout the year, like to get to the things on the vision board, right? And
when
so
you're
it's
making a vision board,
yeah.
Should you be realistic about the things that you're putting on there? Or are you putting all your hopes and dreams on there? So,
did Adam ask you to ask that question? Because my vision board is generally the most chaotic one of the whole family, because it's like my brain like exploded on the vision board. I have so many things. So I mean, there's definitely things I want to cover off within the year, and I will cover them off. But there's also things that like are bigger goals that I still put on the board, and there's quite a few. And they span all aspects of life. So I think it's like, and we have those like with where our workout stuff is in our house, so that like every day you're kind of like seeing it, and you're like, okay, what am I doing to get closer to that? And it's not just, that's kind of like hope, like, oh, I saw it.
Yes.
I want to be that weight. Great.
Wish I could be that.
Yeah. No, but it's more than that. So we make vision boards, and then, you know, Adam's a big fan of the big beep calendar. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, right?
Nope.
Big
Joel's like,
butt calendar. And, you know, we kind of like plan out, okay, if we want to go on that epic trip with the kids, what week is that going to work? And we get it out there. Or, you know, some things that like we both did book, you know, but we both did writing situations, right? He had a book, we both did chapters in books that would get planned out on there. You know, different things, like I did horseback riding, that I got that on there. I still haven't participated in an art show that I want to do. Nice. But stuff like that, like, and then you spend the time like slowing down to speed up, right? Like towards that goal. Well, if I want to be in an art show, when are art shows throughout the year, and getting them on the calendar, and like, well, would that one work or that one work? If I had to get to that art show, like, when do I need to be painting or doing whatever I want to work on before that? So, you know, things like that, where it's like, if you want to do it in business or personally, it's, you know, casting the vision and then implementing a plan to get to the vision. Yep.
Just one more question on the vision board, because I made one, but then I just maybe had hope with it, and it's in my closet. So I'm not
get it out in the open.
I know. Should you be, so again, something that you could be actively planning and reflecting on, should you be updating your vision board throughout the year? Or these are the things on there, or changing it, or like, no, this is what my visions were. I got to accomplish this before you go off and make a new one. Because I mean, people just make new ones.
I make a new one every year, but like I would say, like, you know, if you're looking at it and you're like, that number that I put on there isn't, you know, I'm already exceeded that number and I want to do better or something, I'd go and like put a sticky on top of it, you know, or like, I think it, you know, it becomes one of those things where if it's not motivating you and you still have time in the year, update it. Yeah. Or like, if you have made a conscious decision that like this one thing you put on there, you actually definitely don't want to do, I probably would like put a little like X over it. Just like, I'm not even going to focus on that. I decided that that's not my, like, really just being intentional about what you're occupying your mind with, as your intentions, as your priorities, I think helps you get through and be successful to not be the person you were last year.
If you could change one thing throughout this year, what would it have been? What would you have done differently?
Ooh. You know, I think I probably would have hired some positions sooner.
Yeah.
And I think I probably would have made some changes with processes and procedures. Yeah. I don't know. From a business perspective. From a personal perspective, I think that I would have tried to be a little more intentional about, okay, instead of giving more of my time to something, how can I sit in this reflection more? Like, be conscious that even weekly, I'm sitting in with, like, where am I just overworking myself versus, like, using that time to come up with a plan to get the thing done without overworking myself.
So should this be a process that people do every day? Should it be a process that people do every week? How often should you be sitting back? Or because again, I feel like maybe some people will be listening to this and they're going to sit there and be like, guys, we're having a reflection day and we're going to do this just once, right? So we understand what we need to change before the end of the year. But should this be something that you're incorporating into your everyday schedule?
I mean, every day, you know, we work the power list that, you know, Andy Frisella, you know, espouses, where it's just, you know, what are the 3 things, for example, or the 5 things or that you will get done before you end the day kind of thing. And I think when you have, you know, reflecting on all the things you have to get done, maybe weekly, and then how they're fitting into your day, in your week, I think it's like little components. It's not like a all day just reflect. I think it needs to be like a muscle that you, like, you know, if you go to the gym one day and you lift a bunch of weights and then you're sore for a week, I don't know how, and you don't do anything else, it's not really going to make a change. But it's more like the, you know, high frequency, lower weight, that I think is the recipe for success there.
And I like what you said, because I think people, they hear like, hey, I need to be reflecting back and I need to be planning and I need to make these changes and I want to be in a different place going into the new year, you know. And again, we're getting into that place where everybody's like, new year, new me, right? And we have all these big hopes and dreams of what's going to happen in the new year. I'm going to change this and I'm going to eat better and I'm going to work out better and I'm going to be more dedicated to this, or, you know, the things that are on our vision board, like I'm going to do them all. So, and we have this moment of like, almost like hyperness and like, you know, like this motivation, and then it dies, and then it goes away and it doesn't become a habit and you don't build the muscle, and then you end up doing none of those things and sitting in the same place right now, right here, and being like, okay, well, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, and I didn't do anything on my vision board. I didn't pull it out of my closet. I'm going to do it. Like, so how do you get past that? And we've talked about this too. There's always a stopping point. There's always you hit a wall, or that unexpected happens, and like none of the things that you want to do. How can you keep, if you're going to build this momentum and want to get yourself in a better place, how do you keep that going?
You know, the thing that again, I feel like I'm just repeating the things that we do a lot, and we talk about a lot, but 75 Hard was a really good program for us to build confidence in ourselves. And so Adam and I both do it on a regular basis. I'm on, I think, day 44 today of 75 this year. And actually, this is my first full round that I'm getting of
when
75.
are you done, by the way? Are you done before the Christmas party?
No. I'm done after
Jackie.
Christmas. I know, but it's good.
See, this is where people would be like, nope, the Christmas party's coming up and I'm
right.
not.
So, and I think there's so much where you just have to decide what is like a lower value thing that you're going to sacrifice for the higher version of yourself. So like, to me, like not having a bunch of drinks at the Christmas party, for example, like that's not as important. Like having those drinks isn't as important to me as like being in the mental strength that I want to be at to lead our team.
Yeah.
And so it's stuff like that where you have to decide. And when you decide, I know sacrifice is there's a lot of people that don't like the word sacrifice, but I think we have to think about it from like decision is a big part of life. Mm-hmm. And so it's really just a decision. Yeah. And so like what you have to decide. And when you don't make decisions that go in the direction you want to go in, you're going to do this. Mm-hmm. Versus like if you're going to keep deciding like this is where I want to be, so I'm going to decide to step up and not take that small step back kind of thing. That's where I think that's how you build the muscle is you choose, even if it's the smallest thing, you don't have to jump into 75 hard. Just pick one habit that you want to fix. And it's like, if it's like you struggle with brushing your teeth every day, I'm going to brush my teeth every day and just get on a streak. Right. And then that's a win that you just, incorporate. Well, I brush my teeth every day. I can learn how to do this, or I do this now every day. Like, and it's just those like little wins that start building on themselves.
That's what I wanted. Yeah. You transition. So it's the small wins but because I think we have to make huge, big goals, big changes, big things. Right. When really, if you just did a little bit of the small things, they add up.
Yeah.
Like just a little, because I think the big things, and that's what everybody does, they set these big expectations. That's where then it becomes overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And it's like you said, if it's just brushing your teeth.
Well, and I think too, it's like, it also gives you confidence in the bigger problems to fix in terms of like, let me give you an example. Royce was on a walking streak.
Yep.
He's off of it now. He's doing more football workouts and stuff. But like, he would get really creative, even as a teenager, on like if he might not hit his walking streak, like how he was going to achieve it. Yeah. There's a lot of that with 75 hard. It's like, okay, I got to get all these tasks done by the end of the day. Yeah. But I also have these other competing priorities. How can I like rearrange my schedule so that it all gets done? Or how do I, do two things at once? Like what can I multitask? And so when we do things that like, it's a non-negotiable, when we figure it out, when we have that list in front of us at the end of the year, that's like, these are all the things I got to get done or I want to get done. And you take the time to reflect, or you have the challenge of, I'm not going to be in the same place January 3rd as I was last year. What do I do differently in these 30 days? Your brain works in a way to figure it out easier than if it's just like, well, I'm just going to show up and do what I can. Yep. And I think that becomes like when we get close to burnout, when we get just into a routine where we don't have that self-confidence in ourselves, it's just like, well, I'm just going to go face the day and figure it out. And, and like when you feel defeated, you're done. Well, sometimes it's like, okay, I feel defeated and I told myself I'm not going to be in that position as I was January 3rd last year. So
what do I have
let's
to do?
Go. Yeah.
Well, and I think, and this is where this show pulls into the other things that, or the other shows that were leading up to this. And Adam had given a challenge to listeners of it was 7 days, and you had to do these 7 steps and to build momentum to get you closer to the goal that you wanted to do. I will tell you, sitting here, I did not believe that. I have to shake my head yes on the show. Adam, I know you're listening. I didn't believe that was going to work. There's no way that I would make what I knew what the goal is and where I want to be. There's no way that 7 days is going to build momentum or get me closer to that. Well, little did I know, because I just did it just to humor Adam and see if this worked, right? And see if, you know what I mean? Like, and I should have known, because when he says something, he usually is. But so I did it. And I did the 7 days. And I will tell you, if you're listening and you didn't do it, go back and listen to, I think maybe it was the last episode or the episode before.
70?
Yeah. 69. Okay. So go back and listen to that and then start and do it, because I did do it. And did I get my goal yet? No. Because again, it's like you always say, it's a journey. There's steps to that. There's tactical steps to that. Part of these 7 days were those things. I had to do certain things because I had to get my own situation under control. Part of that was, like you said, reaching out to somebody. So I reached out to Jack. I don't know my numbers. I don't know my number. I don't know what my financial situation was. I don't know because I haven't sat down to look at it. So I didn't know what the next steps were then to fix it. Right? I had to reflect back on things and look at things in order to come up with the plan, which Jackie helped me do. But then I also had to be like accountable. I had to look at things and like kind of step on the scale and look at things that scared me. And again, inevitably, you think you're on this track and then things come in the way and you're like, well, now what? Because I had this plan, but now this came up and now what do I do? But that's where then that active faith came in, because doing those steps, I now understand more of my situation. I now understand where I want to be. And I now know the decisions that I have to make and the things that I have to do to get there. And I didn't know any of that. I didn't know any of that coming into that. So I didn't get my goal yet, but I got the momentum and it changed my attitude and it caused active faith to keep going.
Yes.
Even when the unexpected comes up and you feel defeated, like you said, then it's but
Yeah.
I'm doing this because
Yeah.
I want to get here. So I think it was the active faith part that I was hoping things were going to get better, but hoping wasn't going to do anything.
Right.
The active faith. So I think that the big things is finding the people in your life too that you can go to, even if it's scary, embarrassing, whatever it is, and say, ew. Oh.
Are you gonna cry?
Yeah.
Oh. Joyful cry. Joyful cry.
Yeah, because Joel's like, you're an emotional mess when you come on this show anymore.
I didn't see that coming, Ashley. I'm not gonna lie. I thought you're like,
well, because it's not easy to go to people
no, it's not.
and say, I need your
vulnerable.
help.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need
Yeah.
you to, and then trust that they'll take the time
Yeah.
to sit with you with all of their things going on. So thank you.
You're welcome. Now you're gonna make me cry.
And do that. But if I didn't take that step, if I didn't have that faith in that action, then I wouldn't. So if you are hoping for your Christmas miracle or doing whatever,
Yeah.
like do the 7 things
Right.
and then have active faith and
I mean,
find the people.
and be your Christmas miracle,
Yes.
right? Because when it comes down to it, like, whomever you believe in, I mean, I do believe, I believe that we're, created by God and, there's, in his likeness and image. And in that case, it's like you're equipped with the skills, the grace,
Yes.
the know-how to get to the next step where you are in your journey. If you have faith that you've been put there to learn a lesson, and that you were put there in a place where you can get through it, it's amazing what you can accomplish and how much of a better and a stronger person that you can become, taking the challenge and seeing it as a challenge and opportunity versus, I guess, being struck down by God, right?
Yeah.
Like, maybe there's some potholes, but like maybe you know how to get out of those potholes, or you're going to learn something and how you got through them.
Yeah.
So yes, active faith, and you have the power.
Yeah, I know. We changed Maverick mindset into woo-woo, but it's okay. Everybody needs a little.
Faith-filled today.
Yeah. So you had, we had some, other steps and homework for our listeners, right? So that they could take the time to reflect before the end of the year and get themselves in a good spot. One of those was setting a timer for an hour.
Yeah.
So within that, what should people, they set the timer and then.
I think it's, I guess I'm making the assumption that this end of year is that people have a lot of things they want to get done before the end of the year. They have goals they want to accomplish. So if it's personal or professional, business related, set that timer for an hour with like where how would you see yourself as successful just 31 days from now, right? Just January 3rd. You got through the holidays and you got through what you wanted to get to, or what you can get through the end of the year successfully. And just sit with that. And what are the things that, you think are going to get in your way, and how you can get through them. Just kind of journal about where you want to be and what it is that you think needs to change so that you can be there.
And then you want to list, you said list the obstacles, but also the fears. Like, what are the fears behind?
Because because if you list the obstacles, you can also like look at those obstacles and say, what is the fear that's telling me that this is an obstacle? Or is it truly an obstacle? There's not necessarily fear. It's just like you can strategically get yourself around it.
Do you think sometimes the obstacles, like you said, is it really an obstacle or is it just fear? Do you think sometimes it's
I think
just
that's
our
what
fear?
you need to do when you reflect.
There's not this big thing that I think's in the way.
I think our fear, we see more obstacles than actually exist.
Yeah.
And then when we look at them, we can find out, is this truly an obstacle or is this fear?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then ask the and then the
yes.
in that. Yeah.
And what can I do about it? Or, and,
Yeah. We also put in here too, for each obstacle, what small tweak helps.
Mm-hmm.
Again, what am I scared of? Should I be the one doing this? And I think the big one is who can help me?
Yeah.
Because I think that's a big, people tend to think that they're just on their own with things.
Yeah.
Like you can't, there's not somebody out there that you can go and ask. And I know we've talked about on the show too, ask somebody who's been there
Mm-hmm.
or ask somebody who is where you want to be and what were their obstacles that got in their way, to give you a better,
Yeah.
and then journaling. And you had said in here, don't edit, let it flow. So just write the stuff, just.
Yeah. And then, don't just use it as a vent session, like take a look at it, like, take a step back, look at it and what do we tactically do from here to the end of the year to get to a different place, January 3rd.
And then ending with prayer or grounding. And why is that part important? Why?
Well, I think that I see all of this whole process is kind of like a prayerful, grounding, like what does need to get done, what can I do, and where am I going to be if these things get done. So I think it's all prayerful grounding. I don't know that there's like a separate step. Just like take the time to like calm yourself, get it all out on paper, and then plan.
And this doesn't have to be something that takes hours, right?
No, that's what I'm saying. Set a timer and just,
What's a good, you do this in the mornings, don't you?
Yeah.
Is that a good time in the morning for?
I think it is for me because I think I don't just jump in and do what's urgent. I kind of sit with what do I know is important for today? And then if something urgent comes up, it's like, okay, does something need to shift or can that happen? Can someone else help with that or can that happen tomorrow?
Yeah. And what's a typical, is it 15 minutes? Is it an hour? What's a good time that people should put to do all of these? Because I feel like really doing all of those things. I know some people might just do one or just pick like, I'm just going to journal, but I really think like doing all of that is kind of helpful.
Yeah, I think it just, set a timer to reflect, make the list, decide what you're going to do decide what the biggest important things are. And then I think there needs to be cascading messages to your team or the changes that you're going to make. A plan for the next 4 weeks. What needs to get done each of the end of these weeks, for example.
Yep.
And how are we going to, if they don't get done, how are we going to pivot that for the next week? Taking the time in between to make the pivots happen.
Yeah. And I think if people do this, I couldn't see if Jewel was putting our timer.
I was like, we're close.
Are we close? Okay. I think if people do, again, like how many days do we have left? If you just did these little things, all for just the rest of the 28 days, you should probably see a shift of where.
Right. The hope is we build one win, before the end of the year. We have our win that we got to January 3rd, and then let's plan for the next year. Make sure that we're going into it with momentum.
So with the Christmas season, there's faith, expectation, and preparation. We don't want to enter 2026 with regret.
Yeah.
We want to enter with clarity and confidence. So you want to do your reflecting, do your journaling.
And act.
Yeah. Faith, active faith. So
have a plan and execute.
Yes. Jackie, thank you so much for coming on again for the show and giving us this, closing the loop on our last few weeks. So we will see you next week. And you want to say the line?
Oh, I believe in you. It's like, wait, I do.